The pursuit of fulfillment often feels like chasing a phantom. We exhaust ourselves seeking it in achievements, relationships, and possessions, only to find the satisfaction vanishes as quickly as it appears. This frustration is a modern epidemic, but the cure is ancient. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. He points us inward to a source of peace we often overlook. This video will dismantle 20 widespread myths about finding fulfillment, reframing each one through timeless Stoic principles like virtue, focus on what you control, and radical acceptance. By the end, you will possess a clear and unshakable blueprint for a truly contented life, one built from the inside out. We will explore why the goal of constant happiness backfires and how seeking less can actually give you more. What is the one assumption you hold about a good life that might be holding you back? The first myth is that your worth is determined by your resume or your net worth. This belief is a trap, convincing us that fulfillment waits on the other side of a promotion, a new car, or public recognition. The ancient Stoics saw this chase for what it truly is, a race on a treadmill that never ends. The philosopher Epictetus drew a crucial line in the sand. He said that some things are up to us and some things are not. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions are up to us. What is not up to us are our bodies, our possessions, our reputations, and our power. Fulfillment, according to this wisdom, cannot be found in the second column. It can only be cultivated in the first. Think about the last time you achieved a major external goal. Perhaps you finally got that job title you worked so hard for. The initial rush of validation is intoxicating, but how long did it last? A week, a month, before the novelty faded, and you found yourself eyeing the next rung on the ladder. Now contrast that with a different memory, a time you chose to do the right thing, even when it was difficult, when you acted with integrity, with courage, or with kindness, not for a reward, but because it was who you wanted to be. That feeling, the quiet satisfaction of aligning your actions with your character, does not fade. It becomes a part of you. This is the core of Stoic fulfillment. It is not about acquiring what you lack, but about fully expressing the virtue you already possess. So where have you been outsourcing your self-worth? Is it tied to a number on a scale, the number of likes on a post, or the approval of a particular person? Identify one area in your life where you have been waiting for an external signal to feel complete. That recognition is the first and most profound step toward taking your fulfillment back into your own hands. What if the pursuit of constant happiness is the very thing making you miserable? This second myth traps us in a cycle of self-judgment, where every moment of sadness or frustration is seen as a personal failure. Stoicism offers a radical alternative to this exhausting chase. The Stoics were not advocates for a joyless life, but they were deeply skeptical of what they called the passions, intense, irrational emotions that sweep us away. They prized instead a state of equanimity, a calm and steady mind that can meet all of life's events with clear judgment. Seneca, who witnessed immense wealth and brutal political turmoil, wrote that we are born in a kingdom. To obey God is freedom. Part of that freedom is accepting that life is a mix of smooth and rough seas. To expect only calm weather is to set yourself up for perpetual disappointment. Think about a typical day filled with minor frustrations. Your coffee spills, you get stuck in traffic, a work project hits an unexpected snag. The common reaction is a wave of irritation, a feeling that the day is now ruined because it is not matching your expectation for a happy, smooth experience. A Stoic approach would not be to pretend you are thrilled. It would be to pause and apply reasoned judgment. The spilled coffee is a minor inconvenience, not a catastrophe. The traffic is outside your control, but your response to it is yours to command. By refusing to label the entire day as bad based on a few moments, you preserve your inner stability. That stable ground is where true contentment grows, not in the fleeting peaks of euphoria. When was the last time you felt a pang of disappointment because you thought you should feel happier? Perhaps during a holiday that did not live up to the hype, or a weekend that felt ordinary. What if, instead of judging that experience as lacking, you simply accepted it as a neutral part of a full human life? That shift in perspective, from chasing a constant high to valuing a steady center, is a profound step toward a more resilient and genuinely fulfilled existence. The Stoics lived in a world with far fewer choices, yet they spoke deeply of contentment. The modern world presents us with an endless aisle of possibilities, from dozens of coffee blends to countless career paths, and we have been taught this abundance is freedom. But this third myth, that more choices lead to more fulfillment, is a seductive lie. This overflow of options does not liberate us. It often locks us in a state of anxiety, a paralysis by analysis where we are so terrified of making the wrong choice that we make no choice at all, or we make one plagued by regret. The Stoic response is not to lament our limited options, but to radically value the ones we already have. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, reminded himself to be satisfied with even the smallest present activity and to treat the present moment as sufficient. He was not advocating for low standards, but for a profound shift in attention from the hypothetical to the actual. Instead of being tormented by all the lives you could be living, you focus on living the one before you with excellence. Imagine two different morning routines. One involves scrolling through a phone, assaulted by 100 notifications, deciding between 10 different news apps, and then facing a closet full of clothes that still feels like it offers nothing to wear. The mental energy is depleted before the day even begins. Now picture a simpler, more intentional start. Waking up, taking a moment to acknowledge the new day, and focusing on the single, controllable choice to begin it with a clear mind. The complexity is not in the number of options, but in the depth of your engagement with the one you have. Where in your own life has a surplus of choice become a source of stress? Is it the endless scrolling through streaming services, never quite settling on a movie? Or perhaps it is the constant research for the perfect productivity system, jumping from one app to another instead of simply doing the work. Identify one single area, just one, where you can consciously simplify. It might be your wardrobe, your meal planning, or even your daily to-do list. By deliberately limiting the choices in that arena, you are not practicing deprivation. You are building a fortress for your attention, freeing up your mental capacity to focus on what truly matters, the quality of your character and the virtue of your actions right here, right now. Your history is not your destiny. This fourth myth is a heavy chain, convincing us that our past mistakes, our old wounds, and our former identities lock us into a predetermined future. We allow yesterday's story to write tomorrow's chapters. Stoicism offers the key to that lock, a simple but profound shift in focus. The only moment you ever truly possess is the present one. The past is a set of facts, unchangeable and gone. The future is a collection of possibilities not yet arrived. The suffering we feel about the past is not in the event itself, which is over, but in our continued judgment of it, the story we tell ourselves about what it means. The great teacher Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, understood this deeply. He taught, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." He did not say to mourn what was in your power yesterday. He instructs us to start from where we are right now with the materials currently at hand. Your past, whether glorious or painful, is part of that rest that you must simply take as it has happened. It is your raw material, not your blueprint. Consider a simple, practical example. Imagine someone who made a significant financial error years ago, a failed investment that cost them dearly. One person might let that event define them, carrying a permanent badge of "I am bad with money," which leads to either fearful inaction or a desperate need to overcompensate. A Stoic turn would be to look at that same event and extract only the lesson. The judgment shifts from "I am a failure" to "I learned the importance of due diligence." The event itself, the loss, is now a neutral piece of data from the past. The lesson, however, is a powerful tool for present and future decision-making. The chain of shame is broken and replaced with the compass of wisdom. So, take a moment to reflect. What is one event from your past that you still cling to? A memory that stirs regret or resentment when you touch it? Write it down, not to relive the pain, but to perform a Stoic exercise. Next to that memory, write a new headline. Reframe it not as a permanent stain on your character, but as a specific lesson you integrated. That lesson is now your property, a piece of wisdom you carry forward, leaving the heavy weight of the past itself right where it belongs, behind you. Chasing fulfillment is like chasing the horizon. It always moves further away. This fifth myth tricks us into a perpetual state of waiting, convincing us that real life will begin once we arrive at some distant point. We tell ourselves we will be fulfilled after the promotion, when we save enough money, or once we finally lose those 20 pounds. The Stoics dismantled this illusion with a powerful truth. For them, fulfillment, what they called eudaimonia, is not a harbor you sail into one day. It is the very manner of your sailing. It is found in the quality of your journey, in the process of living virtuously right now, not in some future reward. Seneca captured this perfectly when he wrote that life is long enough if you know how to use it. He was criticizing the very habit of postponement, of believing we are short on time when we are actually wasting it by always waiting for the next thing. The person who saves all their happiness for retirement is banking on a future that is never guaranteed, and in the process, they are missing the countless opportunities for meaning and purpose available in each ordinary day. Contrast that with someone who approaches their daily work not as a mere means to an end, but as a field for practicing virtue. The barrister who finds dignity in creating a moment of connection for a customer, the accountant who takes pride in their meticulous accuracy, the parent who practices patience in the face of a toddler's tantrum. These individuals are not waiting for fulfillment. They are embodying it through their actions in the present moment. They understand that the harbor is a mirage, but a skillful and virtuous voyage is entirely within their grasp today. So pause for a moment and ask yourself this simple question. What is one small, virtuous action you can take today that embodies the fulfillment you seek? It does not need to be grand. It could be an act of patience with a difficult colleague, a moment of deliberate kindness to a stranger, or simply doing your current task with full focus and integrity. That single action performed with awareness is not a step toward fulfillment. It is fulfillment itself, realized in the only time you ever truly have. What if the entire command to follow your passion is a misleading map? This sixth myth has become a modern mantra, creating immense pressure to discover that one singular, all-consuming interest that will make work feel like play. We search for a cosmic sign, a lightning bolt of purpose, and if it does not strike, we feel adrift, believing we are missing the one key to a meaningful life. Stoicism offers a far more grounded and immediately accessible path. It asks you to forget finding your passion for a moment and to focus instead on perfecting your duty. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this, writing that you should do every act of your life as if it were the last act of your life, and to perform the duties of a human being with dignity. What are those duties? They are the roles you already occupy. You are a son or a daughter, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, an employee, a citizen. Fulfillment does not magically appear when you find the perfect job title. It is forged in the fire of how you show up for the responsibilities you already have. Consider the quiet dignity of a parent who patiently reads the same bedtime story for the 100th time. There is no fame in this, no grand passion for repetitive storytelling, yet in that moment of focused attention and care, they are expressing profound virtue. Or think of the office worker who does not feel a burning passion for spreadsheets, but who chooses to be meticulously honest, reliable, and supportive of their colleagues. They are building a life of integrity within the confines of their current role, and that integrity becomes their source of deep, lasting satisfaction. The passion model tells you to look for a mythical perfect fit. The Stoic model tells you to bring excellence to the fit you are in right now. So, take a mental inventory of your current roles. List them out: parent, friend, team member, volunteer, student. Now choose just one. How can you bring more conscious virtue, more focused attention, and more integrity to that single role this week? The search for a distant passion often leaves us empty, but the practice of duty performed with dignity fills the space around us with purpose, starting today. A stormy sea is not the mark of a skilled sailor. The seventh myth we cling to is the belief that strong emotions are the very proof we are alive, that a life of intense highs and devastating lows is somehow richer and more authentic than one of steady calm. Stoicism offers a profound correction to this notion, one that is often misunderstood. The Stoic goal was not apathy, a hollow emptiness, but a state they called apatheia, which means freedom from the destructive and irrational passions that cloud our judgment. Imagine your mind as a clear, still lake. In this state, you can see all the way to the bottom, perceiving the world with depth and accuracy. Now, churn that water into a storm of anger or grief. You cannot see anything clearly. Your reactions become distorted, your decisions impulsive. Apathy is a desert, but apatheia is the clear, calm water from which true insight and connection spring. Seneca wrote that the wise person will be tranquil because their life is one of consistent and harmonious action. This tranquility is not a lack of feeling, but a profound strength. It is the capacity to feel anger without being enslaved by it, to feel sadness without being drowned by it. It is what allows you to engage with the world from a place of power, not from a place of chaos. Consider a common provocation. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The immediate, passionate reaction is a surge of rage, shouting, maybe even a dangerous retaliation. This feels powerful in the moment, a raw expression of your displeasure. But what is the outcome? Your own peace is shattered, your blood pressure rises, and you arrive at your destination agitated. Now consider the Stoic alternative. You notice the event. You acknowledge the potential danger, but you also recognize that the other driver's action is entirely outside your control. Your internal judgment labels it not as a personal insult demanding vengeance, but as a minor external event. Your calm, rational mind is then free to respond. You take a breath, ensure your own safety, and continue your journey with your inner peace intact. The engagement was not weaker, it was wiser and far more effective at preserving what truly matters, your own character. Think back to a recent time when you were swept away by a powerful emotion. Perhaps it was a flare of jealousy in a relationship or a wave of anxiety before a big meeting. In that storm, what did you lose? Maybe you said something you regretted, or you were so consumed by fear that you could not think straight. Now, picture a version of that same event where you met the initial surge of feeling not with resistance, but with observation. You name the emotion, you accept its presence, but you refuse to let it take the steering wheel. From that calm center, what different action could you have taken? What more constructive outcome might have unfolded? This is not about becoming an unfeeling robot. It is about becoming the captain of your own soul, skilled enough to navigate any weather, finding a richness not in the storm itself, but in your unwavering ability to sail through it. Stoicism is not about thinking positively, it is about thinking clearly. This eighth myth, the promise that you can control everything with positive thinking, sets us up for a special kind of failure. It asks us to paint over reality with a bright color, pretending difficulties do not exist, and then we are shocked when the underlying cracks still show. The Stoic practice is the opposite. It involves a courageous look at the facts, however uncomfortable they may be. This is the core of what they call the premeditation of evils, not to dwell on pessimism, but to disarm potential surprises by accepting them in advance. You prepare your mind for reality as it is, not as you desperately wish it to be. Epictetus, who knew a life of hardship, laid it out with stark clarity. He said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. A cancelled flight is just a cancelled flight. It is our view of it, our internal screaming about the ruined plans and the injustice, that creates the storm of distress." Positive thinking would tell you to just smile and affirm it will all work out. Stoic realism instructs you to look at the situation plainly. The flight is cancelled. This is the reality. You cannot control the airline's decision. You can only control your next move. Do you calmly find a solution, or do you waste your energy raging against a fact that will not change? Think of preparing for a difficult conversation you have been avoiding. The positive thinking approach might involve visualizing only a perfect, harmonious outcome. But life rarely follows such a simple script. The Stoic method is to sit down beforehand and calmly consider the various paths the discussion could take. Imagine the other person becomes defensive. Picture them refusing to listen. Envision the conversation ending without resolution. By mentally walking through these potential outcomes, you are not inviting them to happen. You are vaccinating your mind against the shock and anger they might cause. When you enter the room, you are no longer attached to one single, perfect result. You are prepared for reality in its many forms. This preparation is what allows your composure to hold, your reason to remain clear, and your virtue to guide your words, regardless of the other person's reaction. This week, choose one upcoming event that holds some anxiety for you. It could be a work presentation, a doctor's appointment, or a challenging family gathering. Instead of hoping for the best and fearing the worst, practice this Stoic exercise of negative visualization. For just a few minutes, gently consider what could go wrong. Then accept that those possibilities are part of life's fabric. See yourself meeting each one not with panic, but with calm resourcefulness. This is not pessimism. It is the ultimate preparation, building a resilience that does not shatter when the world fails to match your most optimistic dreams. Being busy is often a form of laziness, a laziness of thought. We fill our calendars and to-do lists to avoid the more challenging task of asking ourselves a simple question: is any of this truly essential? The frantic pace becomes a shield, protecting us from the quiet confrontation with our own priorities and values. The Stoics held a concept they called otium, or virtuous leisure. This was not idle laziness, but purposeful time set aside for reflection, study, and self-examination. It was considered the very ground from which a wise and fulfilling life could grow. Seneca cut to the heart of our modern dilemma when he wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Life is long enough, he insisted, if we know how to use it. He was not talking about a lack of hours, but about our habit of squandering them on a torrent of non-essential activities, mistaking motion for progress. Picture two different evenings. One person spends their time in a blur of activity, scrolling through social media, responding to a dozen minor emails, and half watching a television show while checking their phone. They are constantly in motion, yet by the end of the night, they feel strangely empty and exhausted. Another person, practicing that Stoic leisure, might spend just 30 minutes in quiet reflection, reading a few pages of a meaningful book, or taking a walk without any digital distraction. They have done less, yet they feel more substantial, more centered, because that time was invested in their inner world, not spilled on the external one. This is the crucial difference between being busy and being engaged in what matters. Your packed schedule might be a monument to urgency, but is it a testament to importance? I want you to conduct a simple, honest audit. Look back at one single hour from your day yesterday. Replay it in your mind. How many of those minutes were spent on what is truly essential to your character and your long-term fulfillment? How many were consumed by the merely urgent, the reactive, or the trivial? That gap you notice is not a condemnation, it is a map. It shows you exactly where you can begin to reclaim your time, and with it, the mental space to build a life of purpose, not just a diary of activity. A fulfilling life is not a comfortable one. The Stoics understood this paradox deeply, that the path to true contentment is often paved with voluntary discomfort. We instinctively seek to build a cushion around our lives, avoiding anything that might cause us pain or inconvenience. Yet this very pursuit of ease can make us soft, fragile, and terrified of the inevitable challenges life will bring. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus argued that we must practice hardship, just as an athlete trains for a competition. He saw comfort as a potential danger, a trap that weakens our resolve and dulls our appreciation for the simple gifts we already possess. By occasionally choosing to step into difficulty, we are not punishing ourselves. We are building an inner fortitude that no external circumstance can easily shake. Think of the last time you faced an unexpected hardship, a sudden cold snap or a power outage. After the initial frustration, you likely found a way to adapt. You bundled up, you lit candles, and there was a strange satisfaction in discovering your own resourcefulness. That feeling is a glimpse of Stoic strength. The practice of voluntary hardship is a way to access that strength on your own terms, so you are not overwhelmed when life imposes its own terms. This could be as simple as taking a cold shower for 1 minute, a direct training in enduring physical discomfort without complaint. It could be fasting for a single meal, reminding your body and mind that you are in control of your appetites, not the other way around. It might mean choosing to walk instead of drive, or turning off the entertainment to sit in quiet reflection for a while. The goal is not self-punishment but self-mastery. It is about proving to yourself that you are more resilient than your cravings for comfort would have you believe. So this week, what one small, voluntary discomfort will you invite into your life? Choose one practice that gently pushes you out of your comfort zone. It is in these small, chosen struggles that you forge a spirit capable of meeting any of life's uninvited storms with unwavering calm, worrying about what others think gives them power over your inner peace. This 11th myth is a silent tyrant, dictating our choices, our clothes, our careers, and even our conversations. We hand over the keys to our own contentment to a jury of strangers, colleagues, and acquaintances whose own judgments are often fleeting and inconsistent. The Stoic response to this is not to become arrogant or dismissive, but to perform a radical act of recentering. Your fulfillment depends on one thing alone: the integrity of your own character as judged by your own reasoned mind. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, was acutely aware of this trap. He wrote in his private journal a line that remains stunning in its insight: "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He is pointing to a fundamental contradiction in human nature. We are so focused on our own well-being, yet we outsource the very measurement of it to people who are not living our lives. Their opinions are based on their own fears, biases, and limited information. To build your life on such an unstable foundation is to build a house on sand. Consider the simple yet profound freedom of making a decision based solely on virtue. Imagine you are in a meeting and a popular but ethically questionable idea is gaining momentum. The easy path, the one dictated by the fear of judgment, is to stay silent and go along with the crowd. But the Stoic path, the path of integrity, is to speak your reasoned truth calmly and clearly, even if your voice is the only one of dissent. The immediate consequence might be awkward glances or temporary disapproval, but the internal consequence is a solid, unshakable knowledge that you acted with courage and honesty. That internal reward, the quiet dignity of self-respect, far outweighs the fleeting discomfort of social friction. Now turn that lens inward. What is one decision you would make differently if you were completely free from the fear of others' opinions? Perhaps it is the creative project you have been too afraid to start, worried it will not be impressive enough. Maybe it is setting a boundary with a family member you have been too anxious to enforce, fearing their disappointment. Or it could be as simple as wearing what you genuinely like, not what you think will earn approval. Identify that one choice. The gap between your current hesitation and that potential action is the exact space where you can begin to reclaim your sovereignty, to take back the power you have loaned to the world, and to anchor your fulfillment in the only place it can ever be truly secure, within your own virtuous judgment. The universe does not require you to be a hero to live a good life. This 12th myth, the relentless pressure to be extraordinary, to be unique and world-changing, creates a deep current of inadequacy in our modern world. We scroll through feeds of seemingly exceptional people and feel our own quiet existence shrink in comparison, as if a life without a massive audience or a revolutionary idea is a life wasted. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this anxiety, redirecting our focus from the scale of our impact to the quality of our character. The goal is not fame, but a life lived in accordance with nature, which for a human being means living rationally and for the common good. Epictetus, who taught in a simple, unadorned chamber, framed it perfectly. He said, "Remember that you are an actor in a drama such as the playwright chooses. If he wants it short, it is short. If long, it is long. Your business is to act well the part that is given to you. To choose it belongs to another." Your part may not be the lead role on the world stage. It might be the part of a supportive friend, a diligent worker, a caring neighbor. The fulfillment comes not from the fame of the role, but from the virtue with which you play it. Consider the quiet dignity of a nurse working the night shift, offering comfort to a frightened patient when no one else is watching. There are no headlines for this act, no viral moments. Yet in that simple, compassionate action, she is expressing extraordinary virtue. Think of a teacher patiently explaining a difficult concept to a struggling student for the 10th time. This is not a glamorous pursuit, but it is a profoundly essential one, building the foundation of a young mind. Or reflect on the parent who, day after day, provides a stable, loving home. This is not a role that seeks the spotlight, but it is perhaps the most critical role for the future of society. An ordinary life, when lived with extraordinary integrity, kindness, and attention to duty, is not a consolation prize. It is the very definition of a successful and deeply meaningful human life. So, what does extraordinary virtue look like in your own current, ordinary circumstances? It is not about planning a grand gesture for someday. It is about the quality of your attention in your next conversation. It is the integrity you bring to a task no one will ever check. It is the patience you practice in a frustrating daily commute. Where, in the fabric of your completely normal day, can you infuse a moment with a little more courage, a little more justice, a little more humanity? That is where you build a legacy that no amount of external validation could ever match. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, yet he wrote extensively on the poverty of the soul. He lived surrounded by immense wealth and political power, yet his most profound insights warn against the very trap he inhabited. This reveals the 13th myth, that money and possessions are a reliable foundation for security. The Stoics had a brilliant term for things like wealth, health, and reputation. They called them preferred indifference. This means that while it is perfectly natural and reasonable to prefer having money over being destitute, these things are ultimately indifferent to your core fulfillment and virtue. They sit outside the citadel of your character. You can be a good, wise, and fulfilled person with or without them. Money is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends on the hand that wields it. Seneca put it bluntly, stating that wealth is the slave of a wise person and the master of a fool. In the hands of virtue, money can fund education, provide for a family, and support a community. But when we believe it is the source of our safety, we make ourselves its anxious servants, constantly terrified of losing our master. Consider two neighbors living on the same street. One is perpetually stressed, working endless hours to maintain a luxury car, a large house, and vacations they cannot truly afford. Their security is a fragile illusion, a house of cards built on debt and the next paycheck. A single economic downturn, a job loss, or an unexpected medical bill could collapse it entirely. Their mind is never at rest because their peace is held hostage by external things. Now picture the other neighbor who lives within their means. Their home is simpler, their car is functional, and their lifestyle is not funded by anxiety. They have cultivated a different kind of wealth, an inner resourcefulness and contentment that no market crash can devalue. They sleep soundly not because their bank account is overflowing, but because their character is not dependent on it. The first person is chained to their possessions. The second is free because they understand the true nature of what they own. This is the tranquility that comes from needing less, not from acquiring more. It is the profound security of knowing that even if you lost every material thing, your core self, your ability to reason and to choose virtue, would remain completely intact. So take a moment for a simple audit. Look at one thing you deeply desire to buy or acquire. Is the pull you feel truly about its utility, about what it will help you do? Or is it subtly, almost invisibly, tied to status, to the image you wish to project, or to a feeling of being finally safe and acceptable? Recognizing that subtle distinction is the first step toward a freedom that no amount of money can ever buy. Your relentless drive to be productive is likely draining your life of its meaning. There is a quiet rebellion against this tyranny found in Stoic philosophy, where reflection is considered the highest form of productivity. We have mistaken motion for purpose, filling every spare moment with tasks and notifications, terrified of the stillness where we might actually have to confront ourselves. Seneca saw this clearly 2,000 years ago, drawing a crucial line between being busy and being truly active. He observed that the truly active person is engaged in the affairs of the mind, pursuing wisdom and order, while the merely busy person is tossed about in a chaos of other people's demands and trivial pursuits. To neglect the inner world for the outer is to build a magnificent facade on top of crumbling foundations. Imagine two gardens. One gardener is constantly in motion, pulling a few weeds here, watering a plant there, always doing something visible. The other gardener spends long periods simply observing, noting which plants are thriving, where the sunlight falls, and what the soil truly needs before taking any action. Which garden will ultimately be more resilient, more beautiful, more alive? The constant doer is like the first gardener, their activity a mask for a lack of deeper understanding. The Stoic is the second, understanding that the most critical work happens in the quiet observation. This is why the Stoics practiced a daily evening review, a dedicated period of non-doing that was, in fact, the most productive act of their day. They would sit with their journal and calmly revisit their actions. Where did I act with virtue? Where was I ruled by passion? What could I do better tomorrow? This was not self-punishment, but a systematic realignment of the soul, a sharpening of the tool they used to navigate the entire world, their own reason. This practice of leisure recharges your rational faculty, the very core of your humanity. Without it, you are just a reactor, a bundle of impulses responding to the latest stimulus, too exhausted to choose a wiser path. So here is a direct challenge. Tomorrow, schedule just 15 minutes of deliberate non-doing. This is not time for a nap or for scrolling on your phone. It is an appointment for reflection. Sit quietly, walk without a destination, or simply stare out a window. The goal is not to achieve anything, but to simply be present with your own thoughts, to grant your mind the space it needs to integrate the chaos of the day. In that quiet space, you are not being unproductive. You are engaging in the most essential work of all, the work of building a life you do not need to constantly escape from. Stoics do not seek to kill desire, but to educate it. This 15th myth misrepresents the entire Stoic project as a kind of emotional self-amputation, a retreat into a barren state of wantlessness. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Stoics understood that desire is a fundamental human energy. The real work is not to eliminate this energy, but to channel it wisely, to transform raw, chaotic wanting into a clear, virtuous intention. We naturally prefer health over sickness, comfort over hardship, success over failure. Stoicism does not ask you to pretend otherwise. It trains you, however, to hold these preferences lightly, to never be devastated when life delivers the very hardships it inevitably will. The goal is to desire virtuously, which means aligning your wants with what is truly good, your own character, your reason, your capacity for justice and courage. Epictetus offered the ultimate key to this inner freedom. He said, "Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." This is not a call for passive resignation. It is an instruction for active acceptance. You work diligently for the outcome you prefer, but you release your frantic attachment to it, finding your peace not in the result, but in the quality of your effort. Imagine you have worked for weeks on a crucial presentation. The virtuous desire is to present your work with clarity, integrity, and skill. This is your arena, the part you control. The outcome, whether your boss is impressed, whether you win the account, resides in the realm of preferred indifference. It is preferable to succeed, but your self-worth cannot be held hostage by it. If you stake your entire emotional state on that specific result, you have handed over your inner peace to a vote. Instead, you wish for things to happen as they do. You deliver your best possible presentation. If it is met with praise, you receive it with humility. If it is met with criticism, you receive it as data for improvement. Your core fulfillment remains untouched, anchored in the knowledge that you acted with excellence. Your life goes smoothly not because you always get what you want, but because you want what you get by finding the opportunity for virtue within it. So look at one desire you are carrying today. Perhaps it is the desire for a particular person to like you, or for a project to unfold exactly according to your plan. Can you feel the tension in that want, the way it has hardened from a simple preference into a rigid demand? Now, gently reframe it. I would prefer for this person to like me, but my worth is not determined by their opinion. I would prefer for my plan to work, but my character will remain intact even if it does not. This single act of mental reframing is not a small thing. It is the practice of reclaiming your sovereignty, of educating a wild desire into a wise and virtuous companion. You cannot draw water from an empty well. This 16th myth, that fulfillment demands you solve everyone's problems, is a fast track to exhaustion and resentment. We are taught that being a good person means being endlessly available, that saying no is selfish. But Stoicism presents a more sustainable and ultimately more effective model for helping others, one rooted in the concept of the circles of concern. Imagine your life as a series of concentric circles. At the very center is your own mind, your reasoning faculty. The next circle holds your immediate family and close friends. Then comes your local community, your country, and finally, all of humanity. Your duty, according to the Stoics, radiates outward from that center. You have the greatest responsibility to the circles closest to you, but you cannot effectively serve any of them if your own core is depleted. Marcus Aurelius, who carried the immense weight of an empire, constantly reminded himself of this need to retreat into his own mind. He wrote that people look for retreats in the country, by the sea, or in the hills, but you can retreat into yourself at any time. Nowhere can a person find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own soul. This is not an escape from duty, but a necessary recalibration. It is the act of returning to your own well to ensure it has water to give. Picture two people trying to help. The first is the frantic helper, their calendar overflowing with commitments they did not truly want to make. They volunteer for every committee, answer work emails at all hours, and rush to solve every friend's minor crisis. But their help is tinged with a subtle resentment, a quiet tally of all they have sacrificed. Their energy is scattered, and their assistance, though frequent, often lacks genuine presence and warmth. They are trying to pour from an empty cup. Now consider the grounded individual. They have clear boundaries born not from coldness but from self-respect. They know their limits and guard their time for reflection and renewal. When they do offer help, they are fully present. Their calm is contagious, their advice is considered, and their support is sustainable because it flows from a source they actively maintain. They draw from a full well. This is the Stoic helper, effective because they are first whole. So, bring to mind one relationship or one recurring situation where you feel your resources are being stretched thin. It might be a family member who constantly leans on you for emotional support without reciprocity, or a colleague who habitually offloads their tasks onto your plate. What would it look like to establish one small, virtuous boundary there? Not a wall of rejection, but a fence of self-preservation. It could be as simple as saying, "I care about you, but I do not have the capacity to talk about this right now. Can we connect tomorrow when I can give you my full attention?" Or, "I am happy to help with the project, but my own priorities require that I finish this first. I will be available after 3 o'clock. This is not a failure of kindness. It is the practice of it toward the person who must manage all your circles, you. Stoicism teaches us not to be controlled by anger, not to never feel its spark. This 17th myth misinterprets Stoic tranquility as a state of emotional numbness, a complete absence of the fiery feelings that are a fundamental part of being human. The Stoics were far more sophisticated psychologists than that. They made a crucial distinction between the initial, involuntary flash of anger, which they called a propatheia or first movement, and the critical moment that follows, the act of giving your assent to that feeling, of feeding it with your own thoughts and allowing it to blaze into a full-blown destructive passion. The goal is not to prevent the spark from ever appearing, but to refuse to pour gasoline on it. Seneca, in his powerful essay on anger, described it as a brief madness. He observed that no plague has cost the human race more, that it is a vice utterly devoid of nobility, and that it can overthrow the very nations it pretends to avenge. His point was not that the feeling is evil in itself, but that our unchecked agreement with it leads to ruin. The space between the spark and the explosion is where your freedom lies. Consider a common moment of modern life. You are driving, focused on your destination, when another car swerves dangerously close, forcing you to slam on your brakes. That jolt of adrenaline, that surge of heat and alarm, is the first movement. It is automatic, biological, and entirely outside your immediate control. The Stoic practice begins in the very next second. Do you give your assent to that feeling? Do you latch onto the thought that this driver is an idiot who deserves your fury, honking the horn, shouting, and then carrying that agitated energy with you for the next 20 minutes? Or do you acknowledge the flash of anger, feel it in your body, and then consciously apply reason? You might say to yourself, that was dangerous, but it is over now. My priority is my own safety and calm. I will create space and continue my drive with focus. The event is the same. The initial feeling is the same. The outcome for your inner world, however, is completely different. One path leads to a storm of your own making. The other leads to preserved peace. So the next time you feel that old, familiar heat of anger beginning to rise, whether from a cutting remark or a frustrating delay, I want you to practice the Stoic pause. In that sacred space between the spark and the fire, take just one breath. In that breath, ask yourself one rational question. What is truly within my control right now? Is it the other person's behavior, which is firmly in the past? Or is it my next action, my next word, the quality of my own character in this very moment? The thought you insert into that space is your anchor, the tool that keeps you from being swept away by the temporary madness and returns you to the steady ground of your own reasoned choice. Stoicism is a philosophy for the community, not just the hermit. The image of the solitary Stoic, utterly self-sufficient and detached from the world, is a profound misunderstanding of the entire tradition. The Stoics argued that human beings are social creatures by our very nature, designed for cooperation. Our capacity for reason is not meant to be hoarded in isolation, but shared for the common good. Fulfillment in this light is inextricably linked to justice, kindness, and fellowship. It is found in our interconnectedness. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who spent years on military campaigns surrounded by his troops, wrote that we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is unnatural, and it is against nature to be vexed and turn away. Your duty, your path to a meaningful life, is to contribute to the welfare of the whole. This is not a secondary task, but a primary expression of your virtue. Think of a time you were part of a team that accomplished something significant. Perhaps it was a group project at work or a volunteer effort in your neighborhood. The deep satisfaction you felt was not just about the final result, but about the shared struggle and the mutual support. That feeling is Stoic fulfillment in action. It is the recognition that your own well-being is tied to the well-being of those around you. The Stoic finds profound meaning in supporting their family with patience and wisdom, in being a reliable and fair colleague, and in acting as a conscientious citizen of their town or city. This week, I invite you to perform one small, anonymous act of kindness for your community. It could be as simple as picking up litter on your street without any fanfare, leaving a positive note in a public library book, or buying a coffee for the person behind you in line. The anonymity is key because it ensures the act is for the common welfare itself and not for any external recognition or reward. In that quiet, selfless gesture, you are not just helping someone else. You are strengthening the very fabric you are a part of and fulfilling your fundamental nature as a human being made for cooperation. The universe is indifferent, it is not malicious, but it is not just in a human sense either. This 19th myth, the childish expectation that life should be fair, is a deep well of resentment. We are taught from a young age that good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished, but a single honest look at the world reveals a much more complex and neutral reality. The Stoics did not see this as a cause for despair, but as a call for radical acceptance. This is the heart of the concept known as amor fati, a love of one's fate. It is the profound decision to embrace everything that happens, not because it is pleasant, but because it is yours. The events themselves are outside your control, but your response to them is the very material of your character. The philosopher Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic thought, captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is not about passive resignation. It is about an active, dynamic embrace of your entire story, the smooth chapters and the rough ones alike. Imagine someone who unexpectedly loses their job. The immediate human reaction is often one of outrage and a deep sense of injustice. I worked hard, I was loyal, this is not fair. That narrative, while understandable, is a prison. It keeps you chained to a version of reality that does not exist, fueling bitterness and paralyzing forward movement. The person practicing amor fati meets the same event with a different set of questions. They acknowledge the shock and the fear, but they refuse to dwell in the story of unfairness. Instead, they ask, what is this making space for? What strength is this demanding I discover? Perhaps this forced ending is the necessary push toward a career they were always meant to pursue, or an opportunity to rebuild their work life on their own terms, with more autonomy and meaning. The event itself is neutral. The loss of the job is a fact. The power lies in the story you wrap around that fact. One story leads to resentment, the other to resilience and unexpected growth. So bring to mind one current challenge you are facing, something that feels like an unfair burden. It could be a health issue, a financial strain, or a personal conflict. Now take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Write down that challenge at the top. Then, beneath it, write 3 potential ways this very situation could ultimately serve your growth. How could it be strengthening a virtue you need, like patience or courage? How might it be clearing the path for something better that you cannot yet see? How is it teaching you a lesson about what truly matters? This is amor fati in action, not as a philosophical theory, but as a practical tool to transmute the lead of hardship into the gold of character. The Stoics believed the path to a good life was simple but not easy. This 20th and final myth, that fulfillment is a complex puzzle requiring secret knowledge, is perhaps the most pervasive barrier of all. We are drawn to intricate self-help systems and multi-step programs, believing that a convoluted solution must be a more powerful one, yet the most profound truths are often the most straightforward. The entire architecture of Stoic fulfillment rests on a foundation of 3 simple principles. Focus only on what is within your control. Act with virtue in every situation. and willingly accept everything that is not up to you. The intellectual grasp of these ideas might take an afternoon. The lifelong, consistent practice of them is the work of a lifetime. The complexity is not in the theory, but in the unwavering application when your emotions are screaming for a different reaction. The tools are simple, the discipline is immense. Epictetus, a man who valued action over endless debate, offered a beautifully simple instruction. He reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This is not just a quaint piece of advice about conversation. It is a microcosm of the entire Stoic way. Listening requires the virtue of patience. It demands that you set aside your own ego and your prepared response to fully attend to another person. It is a practical exercise in focusing on what you control, your own attention, while accepting the other person's words as they are. This simple act, practiced deliberately, builds character. It is far more impactful than any complex theory about human relations. Look back at the practices we have explored, from the morning resolve to the evening review, from the dichotomy of control to the premeditation of hardships. Each one is startlingly simple to understand. Waking up and asking yourself, what virtue can I practice today? Reviewing your day to see where you acted well and where you could improve. These are not complicated rituals. Their power accumulates only through relentless repetition, through doing them on the days you feel inspired and, more importantly, on the days you do not. So here is the final challenge, the one that turns this knowledge into lived wisdom. Look back over these 20 myths and the Stoic antidotes we have discussed. Choose just one, not 5, not 3. Choose one single, simple Stoic practice that resonated most deeply with you. It might be the evening review of your actions. It could be practicing the pause before anger takes hold. Perhaps it is consciously limiting your choices in one area of your life to reduce anxiety. Whatever it is, make a commitment to yourself to practice it, and only it, for the next 30 days. Do not complicate it, do not add more. Master that one single thing. In that focused, consistent practice, you will discover that fulfillment was never a distant, complicated destination. It was always a simple manner of walking, a quality of attention you bring to the path right beneath your feet, one deliberate step at a time. The journey through these 20 myths reveals a single, unshakable truth. Fulfillment is not a treasure to be unearthed in the external world, but a seed that only grows within the fertile soil of your own character. We have traveled from the myth of external validation to the illusion of fairness, and at every turn, the Stoic response has been the same: look inward. Your power, your peace, and your purpose reside not in what happens to you, but in your reasoned judgment of those events. The entire world can be in chaos, yet your inner citadel can remain perfectly calm, governed by virtue alone. Marcus Aurelius, in his final moments, left us with a thought that unifies this entire journey. He wrote, "The universe is transformation, life is opinion." Everything in the external world is in a state of constant flux, endless change. Your life, your experience of fulfillment, is indeed nothing more than your opinion, your judgment, your assent to the impressions that flow through you. To believe that lasting contentment depends on a world that never changes is to set yourself up for a lifetime of frustration. But to build it upon the mastery of your own opinions is to build on an unshakable foundation. These 20 myths are not a list of your failures, but a map of the very obstacles that, once recognized, become your stepping stones. Each one you see clearly is an opportunity to choose a different path, the ancient path of wisdom that leads you home to yourself. If this exploration has shifted your perspective, consider joining our community of practical philosophy. Subscribe to continue this journey together. And in the comments below, we would love to hear from you. Which one of these 20 myths resonated most deeply, and what one small step will you take to apply its Stoic antidote in your own life? Your insight might be the very thing that helps another traveler find their way.